Woman's head. Lisa, also the woman back there, she said good. I don't know if I notice her saying something like we can't hear you. I'll stand in the back and wave at you.
I can project.
Good. Hello, everybody, and welcome. We do have, it looks like, one seat up here, one seat here. We kind of have some singles, a couple right here. If anybody standing in the back would like to come up and fill in and take a seat. This is an excellent problem to have, and we appreciate your patience with us. Well, welcome everybody. Your Washington County League of Women Voters is proud to host these evenings of candidate forums. Just as a reminder, your county league and all League of Women Voters are a nonpartisan organization. We are dedicated to encouraging informed and active participation in government, and the league does not endorse any candidates or political parties. Our league mission consists of 4 very powerful words: empower voters and defend democracy. And luckily tonight, we get an opportunity to do both. We'll be empowering our voters by giving you all the opportunity to hear directly from the candidates that are seeking the offices of Prosecuting Attorney, Division 4, and the Republican primary candidates for the Washington County Judge. Tonight, the second part of our mission to defend democracy, I'm asking you to help us defend democracy by signing our ballot initiative, that the league is sponsoring a ballot initiative to save all ballot initiatives, hence save our democracy. We need enough signatures to get this critically important measure on the ballot for our November election. So please stop by our table there in the back if you'd like more information or you haven't signed our petition yet. Your local league is 100% volunteer powered. Most of us have full-time jobs outside of this. So if you are a board or committee member or regular member, if you could stand or at least wave so we can thank you for your time. A bunch of us are here tonight. I'm privileged to stand up here before you, but I do like this much of the work. It's really a team effort. We're all here tonight because of our next election here on March 3rd with early voting beginning February 17th. And it's not just a primary election, right? Tonight we will hear from candidates for both a nonpartisan race and a partisan primary race. It's important to know that these nonpartisan judicial races, school millage rate extensions, local school board directors, and city bond proposals will be fully decided upon this election. So March 3rd, please help us get people out to vote, right? Arkansas is notoriously a low voter registered state and definitely a low voter turnout state. So it just makes my heart so excited to see you all here tonight, because I know we have a dedicated group of people right here. They're going to do everything they can to get the most voters, as many voters as we can this March 3rd. Because the choices made in this election will have a direct impact in our local communities. All right, tonight we have our first set of candidates up here on stage from 5:30 to about 6:20. They're vying for the nonpartisan position of Prosecuting Attorney, District 4, which covers Washington and Madison counties, basically. Their election will be decided upon March 3rd. And then later on at about 6:30, I'll have a little break in between, and at 6:30 we'll have the second set of candidates who are the primary candidates vying for the Republican spot on the ticket for county judge. We plan to have a bit of time to mingle after each panel, and at the very end, as long as the library doesn't kick us out. And as the candidates know, and I want to remind everybody here that this is a candidate forum. It doesn't do debate style in this case, and it's not a town hall. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and have the candidates will have equal time, 3 minutes to answer each question. But they don't necessarily directly talk to each other. And during the forum, though, if you in the audience think of a question that you'd like both candidates to answer, if you can write them down on an index card. Mary Alice Serafini, one of our board members back there, she's got a little basket with a lot of pens and index cards. So if there's something that you wanted to ask the candidates, you can go ahead and write that down. And we have a small team of league members who will vet those and see if we haven't answered that yet and bring it up to our moderator. Candidates, Mr. Dean and Ms. Parks, I want to thank you for your dedication to public service by running for office, and thank you for giving us your time and being here this evening. Our moderator tonight is Katie Teague. She is a county extension agent with the U of A System Division of Ag Research and Extension Office. We appreciate her work with us over the years. Thank you, Ms. Teague, and I think I'll turn it over to you to get us started with that.
Just want to echo Michelle, this is just thrilling to see such a vibrant crowd, that everybody's here wanting to learn more about folks and inform their vote. It's not a gotcha moment. We don't have like pointed questions. This is truly just to ferret out and give these folks a chance for you to get to know them, understand their approach to the office if elected. And so that way, again, you're empowered and you will engage in the process and vote your heart. So we appreciate y'all being here and really thank the library too, because online is also an option. Again, I think the starting point was just giving you each 2 minutes to try and introduce yourselves, share a little bit about yourself. A lot more is going to come out probably through the questions. We have a timekeeper down front, so she's on it. She's good. And we'll also trade back and forth of who begins with the answering of the questions. So I guess to get started, Mr. Dean, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Standing room only. I quote one of my favorite mayors when I say, "Don't you just love Fayetteville?" Appreciate y'all. So my name is Dennis Dean. I am currently the Chief Deputy Prosecuting Attorney for Washington-Madison County. I was hired about 18 years ago by now Judge John Threet, shortly after he got elected prosecutor for the first time.
Move those a little bit closer. Yep.
How's that? Nope, it's not even on. This didn't count into my 2 minutes, is it? I'm a rule follower. I'll project. If anybody has trouble, just raise your hand. But I started working for John Threet back about 18 years ago in the juvenile division of our office. I did that briefly, then worked to the misdemeanor division, where I learned how to try misdemeanor cases on the fly. Those cases are usually fast and quick. And then I worked my way up to the felony division, handling low-level felonies, drug-related felonies, and for the past several years, I do the highest-level felonies in our office, which are child sex abuse cases, human trafficking cases, and capital murder. I have 2 boys. We live right here in Fayetteville. Jason's joining us on the front row, proof that the hair gene skips a generation. And he's a sophomore at Fayetteville High, and then we got a son, William, who is a senior at Fayetteville High. He'll be attending NWAC next year. I'm running for prosecutor because, number one, I love the job of seeking justice for our community. I love the work with law enforcement. I love working with victims. I love working with our area nonprofits to ensure that justice is enforced in our community fairly and equally. We live in a interesting place. I am not originally from here. I was born in Florida, but I've lived here long enough that some people call me a native. I know that's going to insult others. But I have seen a lot of change in our area over the past 30 years. I've seen a lot of growth. What I haven't seen is a massive influx in problems, but they're always right there knocking on the door. We had a horrific case that occurred in a state park that is part of my jurisdiction last year that's going to be tried. Crime is coming, and we need to remain vigilant. We need to help those that need help, the people that are dealing with drug and alcohol addiction, mental health issues. I help get mental health court started. And then we need to protect the community from the most violent offenders. So that's what I pledge to do as your elected prosecutor. I've never been the elected prosecutor in this office, so there's some changes that I need to make, and I appreciate you.
Thank you. Ms. Parks, same thing.
Thank
Love to
you.
hear about you.
First of all, thank you so much to the League of Women Voters. I just love how you all tried to just educate the public all the time about the candidates. So, I'm so sorry. Is the mic not working at all?
Let's move these a little closer and give them a test.
Testing.
I'll bring out different ones. I'll be right back.
Okay. Testing. I don't think it's working. I'm not as loud as him, so.
you want to come? Do you feel comfortable standing here just to use this while they're getting the mics?
I'm fine with that, yep.
This one's working.
So again, just thank you to the League of Women Voters for always working to educate the voters. I'm Lisa Parks. I'm running for prosecuting attorney. And the best I can tell, I'm the first woman to run for prosecutor in this district. I grew up in the Delta in southeast Arkansas. I was raised by a hardworking mother who's here with me tonight, and grandmother who just taught me strong Arkansas values. And I carried those values through every chapter of my life. First, I was the first one to graduate from college in my family. Then I put myself through law school here in Fayetteville as a single mother of 3 children. I like to joke that my youngest started kindergarten the same day I started law school, so those were a tough 3 years. But after law school, I worked as a public defender for 17 years. And then now I work as a child welfare attorney with the Department of Human Services, protecting kids that have been abused and neglected. So those balanced experiences are the reasons that I'm running for prosecuting attorney. I believe the prosecutor's office needs new leadership and a new approach. I've watched as violent offenders essentially waited out in the criminal system and cut these plea deals that avoid real responsibility. So they need to be held accountable. At the same time, we don't need to keep filling our jails with people who have substance abuse issues, mental health issues, or suffer from poverty. Thank you. My time as a drug court public defender and veterans treatment court taught me that if people are given the right tools, they really can turn their life around. So this campaign's about balance. It's about being tough on those who hurt others. It's about being fair on those who are really trying to turn their lives around. That is just smarter justice, and it's justice that actually works. This prosecutor's race gives us a unique opportunity. We don't have an incumbent prosecutor. This candidacy is different. I bring a more balanced approach to the prosecutor's office. So, and I'm sure you'll hear more about that today. I am asking for your vote. I'm asking for your support. This election will be decided on March the 3rd. So I just ask you all to get out and vote. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Again, Glenda, thank you for your time, and keep us going. I think we got our mics worked out. Y'all feel comfortable how to?
Hello? Hello? That doesn't seem to be on.
Technology is fabulous when it works, and when it's not, it's maddening. Again, I think in the sake of time, if y'all just want to trade out, Lisa, we'll have you come first. My question to you is, if elected, do you have any specific measurable goals you plan to set for your first year in office?
First year.
Yep.
Okay, thank you so much. I think, just like I said in my introduction, the primary goal of any prosecutor is to keep the community safe. That's the utmost goal of a prosecutor's office. I would really like to see us do a better job of prioritizing the cases that we prosecute and how we prosecute them. We have, and I kind of hinted at this, we have violent offenders who, there are continuances, they wait it out, they know that, they know how to wait it out in the system. And they end up having these plea deals, and it really does avoid real responsibility for their actions. If they won't accept responsibility, we have to take those cases to trial. And so that's a commitment, I would say, from day one, year one, is to come in and be willing to take those particularly violent offenders to trial and let juries decide if they won't accept responsibility. With regards to the drug court programs, veterans treatment court, mental health, I think we have to be supportive of those programs. Like I said, I've been the public defender for those programs. I've done a lot of training on best practices. I think we have to work as a team to develop those specialty courts and just get people in there instead of letting them sit in jail for a very long time. We have, people that are in our jail now, everybody knows this is a hot topic with the jail being basically busting at the seams. And we've got folks sitting in there, I think, is Sarah Moore here? I think I saw her. She gave some statistics the other night. I believe she said like over half of the people in the jail are pre-adjudication and pre-trial. I just think we got to do a better job of that. I think we've got to prioritize these cases. Thank you. People that have those substance abuse issues, mental health issues, we've got to address those, and we've got to do it soon. So that's what I'd work on from day one.
Thank you very much. So again, Mr. Dean, if you'll come forward, if elected, do you have any specific measurable goals you plan to set for your first year in office, if elected?
I do, but I do want to address one of those remarks. I'm surprised that the number of pre-adjudication people in jail is as low as just over 50%. Pre-adjudication is the purpose for a jail. That's where you are waiting for trial, and then after that, you go to prison. The reason why we have a jail backlog is because the Arkansas Department of Corrections doesn't have enough beds for the people who are committed to go to prison. So if we can get that 40 to 45% of people moved on through the prison process, we will open up beds in the jail, and we won't have people sleeping on the floor, which in my opinion is inhumane. What I will do in my first year as prosecutor is increase respect in the office. Respect for the community, respect for judges, respect for schools. How do we do that? First of all, we dress appropriately for court. We call judges by their title and not their first name. We go into the schools. We show respect for the community by teaching the community what it is that we do and how it is we prevent crime. We respect victims by communicating with them in every facet of the trial, something that we have been falling short on, and we increase our communication with law enforcement. The better communication we have with law enforcement, and we have fantastic law enforcement around here, but the better they're going to be at their jobs. They're going to know what to do on scene to make solid cases and not to mess anything up, and it's going to make the community better and safer. I'm going to increase training for my deputy prosecutors. We have the finest bunch of deputy prosecutors in the state of Arkansas, but they have been in great need of professional training on specialized topics such as child exploitation, child sex abuse material, emerging technology. There is technology that is emerging right before our eyes, and we need, the criminal element is adjusting their tactics. We need to get our prosecutors trained up to be able to properly place these cases in front of a jury. If the prosecutor doesn't understand the crime, a jury is not going to understand the crime. So I want to get my prosecutors trained up. And we have a drug control fund that we can use to pay for that training at no taxpayer expense. The other thing I want to do is more partnerships. Today, I actually was in Little Rock at the Asian Hotel Owners Association of Arkansas, where we are going to increase awareness. We're going to increase prosecution of human trafficking cases by putting cameras in common areas, uploading pictures of runaway teenagers and endangered teenagers, and facial recognition software is going to identify when those kids go into a hotel, likely in a trafficking situation, and stop it before it begins. This is something that has never before occurred anywhere in this country, and it is going to happen first in Benton and Washington County. We signed a memorandum of understanding. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you both. And you've begun to address some things, but I guess I'm going to ask, what do you feel are the most pressing public safety concerns in the county, and how will your office address them? So we'll start. Afraid you're back up, Mr. Dean.
Don't be afraid.
Wish you were comfortable. Thanks.
Juvenile crime and juvenile issues is, I think, one of the most pressing things in our community. We are a relatively young community, and there are a lot of school-age children here, and there's several things that concern me about kids. Number one, access to guns. You know, when somebody breaks into a gun shop or a residence and steals 5 guns, those guns reappear in our community. And more often than not, they reappear in the hands of our children. And these are kids without a developed frontal lobe, and they go out and do kid things that have real consequences. I want to stop the thefts at the place where, before the kids even get the guns in their hands. I want to come down on folks that are breaking into houses, breaking into cars, and stealing guns, and show that we are not going to tolerate that, because that's what perpetrates crime. That's what gets guns in the hands of our children. Similarly, sexual extortion. There is software available right now that can undress a child on camera. So we have had situations time and time again where you have school-aged children that take pictures of their classmates, or they get pictures off of social media, and using open source AI software, they remove clothing on the child. Now, it's not the child's actual naked body, but you can't tell the difference. Parents can't tell the difference, and their classmates can't tell the difference. So these pictures start circulating around, and you can just imagine the havoc that this is causing. We need to nip that in the bud. We need to stop that through education, through enforcement, and through awareness, such as programs like this. And we need to expand our specialty courts. Drug court is the biggest in the state, but it is not perfect. There are people that are lingering in drug court for 6 or 7 years. That is a very difficult program for people to be in, and it is very tough for them to get ahead in life to be able to hold down a steady job when they have the burden of drug court for that long. I want to shorten that. We want to expand our veterans, our VA court for veterans, and we want to continue to expand mental health court. I'm excited to announce that I met with Judge Stevenson last month, and we just last month expanded mental health court into Madison County. So we serve our entire district now. That has been a fantastic program where people can avoid even an arrest, even showing up on the booking page, because their case immediately upon having a mental health crisis and committing a felony crime gets diverted into mental health court. They can get the help they need. They can avoid the stigma of having an arrest, certainly having a conviction, and they can get back to baseline. And we've got some of the biggest success stories in the criminal justice system last year coming out of our mental health court. So I want to continue to expand that. Thank you.
So again, Ms. Parks, same question. What are the most pressing public safety concerns in this county? Obviously, it's 2 counties. It's been Madison and Washington. And how will your office address them?
I mean, I think I have to say that I'm surprised that there's this position that the jail is there for the purpose of holding people who have not yet been convicted of a crime. I think I would disagree with that mentality. Those people that are being held in jail, not convicted of a crime, or there on low-level nonviolent offenses, those folks are going to be getting out of jail, and they need services. They need treatment. They need mental health treatment. They need substance abuse treatment. They need things to address those things now. We know that from people sitting in jail a day, a week, a month, we get desensitized to that. But that's a big deal. And I think even Mr. Dean has said in some of these public forums that we talk about, and I'll get to that in a second, we talk about, the sexual abuse cases, we talk about the murder cases, we talk about the violent cases, which are a big problem in our community. But those are the minority of the cases in our criminal justice system. The majority of the cases, thank you, are those people that are sitting in jail on non-violent, low-level offenses. Those are the majority of the cases. So we've just got. I think it's a safety issue. I think it's a health crisis that we are doing things backwards in the criminal justice system. So to the next point, I think we've got to do a better job of focusing on these violent offenders and these people that sexually abuse children. Sometimes the cases don't get tried. I've seen it from my position as a child welfare attorney. We have the case going on in child welfare court. There is a corresponding criminal case going on in criminal court. We follow it through, and then the offender is not held accountable in criminal court. It's reality. I see it. I've been in child welfare and I see it. So I believe that those are the 2 things in conjunction with each other that we have to get better at, is is holding those violent offenders accountable, but also addressing the real issues for these people that are sitting in jail without being convicted of a crime. I will also say that my opponent is talking about drug court, veterans treatment court, as if those are new ideas. Drug court and veterans treatment court has been around, and I'm glad that he's getting on board with those things, but we have to start using those resources available to us. Thank you.
So again, we'll trade off, Ms. Parks. There are multiple police jurisdictions. Somebody's brought this up in the past, both in Washington and Madison County. And so how will your office work with them? Do you see differences of how things are going now? Just kind of develop that a little bit.
I'm glad you asked that question. I think people tend to get the idea that because I have a long career as a former defense attorney, that I probably don't have a relationship with law enforcement. Nothing can be further from the truth. When I worked as a public defender, I think we had a really strong relationship with law enforcement. I think there was a trust relationship with law enforcement. I think you have to keep that trust relationship with law enforcement. As a child welfare attorney, I have a relationship with all of the agencies in mostly Washington County because that's where I've been practicing. You guys wouldn't believe how they will send officers to come to child welfare court, sometimes with little notice, sometimes without much sleep the night before, in a secret court where nobody ends up in the newspaper, nobody gets any, accolades for coming to court. And I think just fostering that trust relationship and people knowing that we're kind of on the same page for what we're trying to accomplish. I will also say that I've met with some of the chiefs of police. They're very interested in some of these ideas that we're talking about focusing on violent offenders, providing resources, expanding these specialty courts, and actually improving their relationship with community members. So I know that there can be a good, strong relationship with law enforcement. I have no doubt about my ability to do that, and I would want to continue to expand that. I think it already exists just from my years as a public defender and as a department attorney. So, thank you.
So, Mr. D, same question. Again, there's multiple police jurisdictions, varying scale and size in Washington and Madison counties, and how will your office work with each of them, and kind of elaborate.
Mr. Dean, I actually have a microphone for you.
Well done, thank you. Well, first of all, I am endorsed by at least 8 different local police jurisdictions around here, including the Fayetteville Fraternal Order of Police, so I really appreciate those endorsements. Those are departments and police chiefs that have seen me in action. They believe in my ability, and they believe in my ability because in the past 2 years, I have been responsible for obtaining 8 life sentences for murderers and child predators, more than any other prosecutor in that period of time in the history of Washington County. Now, that's not a number that I just say like excited about or anything like that, because it's tragedy. Every single one of those cases is human tragedy. But when given the responsibility to seek justice in those cases, I obtain the maximum punishment to protect the public from those people from ever hurting a child or ever hurting another person in a violent way again. Similar to that, these police departments and sheriff's offices trust me. When Brandon Carter was appointed to fill the shoes of Matt Durrett for a 2-year term, he went to every single police chief and said, what do we need to do? What happens when something happens in your jurisdiction? And they all, to a person, said, you call Dennis. That's what they said. Last July, in late July, I was at a office pool party in Greenland off of 265 and got a phone call, and 30 minutes later, I'm standing in Devil's Den State Park wearing flip-flops, a Hawaiian shirt, and swim trunks. Do not judge me on my fashion sense, but I wanted to be there because that is an important case for those victims and that family, and I wanted to make sure that the evidence was collected in the correct way, all the rules were followed, no rights were violated. I wanted to be there as the attorney on that case. Just 2 days ago, It was a beautiful night. It was 70 degrees. I said, you know what? I'm going to sit on my front porch and enjoy the outdoors for the first time in a while with 70 degrees. I was sitting there for about 10 minutes before my phone rang, and the Farmington Police Department and Washington County Sheriff's Office was calling me saying, we've had a triple stabbing. We need to get in the house. We need to do something. I went down there and made sure that that evidence was collected soundly. Thank God at this point there have been no deaths in that case, but we still have a victim that's in very serious condition. That is the commitment that I make to you. I am not the world's greatest family man. My son, my ex-wife, and my girlfriend can attest to that. Boy, that's a story. But I'm there for the community, and I will sacrifice myself, and I appreciate my family for being so wonderful, allowing me to sacrifice myself to make sure that each and every one of you are safe and that these cases are prosecuted to the absolute best and most professional way they can be. Thank you.
Appreciate you both. So, Mr. Dean, this one I believe you begin. And you've touched on a few of these, but what new methods or technology would you advocate to prosecute crime either more effectively and or more efficiently? Is there anything that stands out?
This is one of the key pieces of evidence that everybody has that is involved in almost every single case. Hope there's nothing bad on there. Good, it's a blank screen. I, last year, wrote and obtained a grant to obtain a Cellbrite extraction machine. And what that does is that enables us to get information off these phones in a lawful and quick manner so that we can preserve the evidence and we can make sure we are prosecuting people correctly and judiciously. Not every department has these. As a matter of fact, they're few and far between. I believe Springdale, Fayetteville, and the Washington County Sheriff's Office are the only ones locally. So I wrote that grant so that we can help out our smaller departments because I want every single citizen of Washington and Madison County to be represented equally, and I want to protect everybody equally. It wouldn't be fair for somebody, even though I live here too and we pay a massive amount of taxes, but I don't want somebody in Fayetteville to get better law enforcement treatment than somebody out in Lincoln. That's not fair. So I got this Cellbrite machine so we can help out our smaller departments, and that's been a very important step in that process. Education, both for the community and my deputy prosecutors and myself. I mean, I'm no spring chicken, so I'm not aware of all these new things that people are doing to commit crimes. I'm going to trainings. I'm always learning. That's the way we're going to stay on top of the criminal element because, I mean, my son's 15. I guarantee he can out-computer whiz me on anything. And if he were to be a criminal, which he's not, I want to be able to keep up with that emerging threat. Thank you.
Appreciate that. So, Ms. Park, same question. What new methods or technology would you advocate to prosecute crime either more effectively and or more efficiently?
I agree that we've got to keep expanding our ability to access. I mean, we all see how quickly this happens with cell phones and computers. And, you know, to this point, our children and teenagers are accessing things that most of us have no idea. So we're doing a good job, I think, of trying to stay in touch with the future. And I think we just have to continue with the training and keeping up with ways to access that information, especially when our kids don't want us to. There's information on there that sometimes we have to be able to access. Here's the other thing that I would like to see happen with regards to just technology is I think we have to improve the discovery process, and I know that's kind of a legal term, but just being able to, prosecutors have a duty to provide the information to defense counsel to be able to get ready for trial. If defense counsel doesn't get that information, it can delay these proceedings, it can delay trials, and it can result in things like what I talked about earlier, people not being held fully accountable. So I think we really have to bring our discovery process up to the state of the art, up to the future, so that we can provide that information in a timely fashion so that it doesn't delay cases. The further out we go with cases, witnesses disappear, evidence gets lost, and delay does not work on behalf of the state, basically. So I think we have to improve that process. There are some jurisdictions that are doing it very well. And so I think we learn from others and we bring that up to date. Again,
thank you both. So, Ms. Parks, this is an incredibly huge job. It's a difficult job, and it's been stated how fast we're growing, and so the responsibilities increase. And so how will you handle high-volume caseloads to ensure each case receives proper attention?
I'll tell you, probably the way I've been handling high-volume caseloads for 25 years. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've been in the courtroom for 25 years. I have tried every kind of case from misdemeanor to capital murder cases. I did that for many years as a defense attorney. And so a lot of that is essentially doing your own investigation. It's bringing witnesses to court. It's, bringing medical examiners to court. It's bringing experts and all of those things that would also be involved in cases at the prosecutor's office. So for 25 years, I've done those things. I know from that experience that it also means sometimes you have to leave a pool party and go to a scene that you don't want to be, where you don't want to be. I know that it means, I remember when I was a public defender and defending those cases, I worked every Sunday, all day long. That's what I did. So I know what that feels like. I've done that. I've done it for 25 years. I know what it means if I've got to keep doing it. I know that this job is going to be a difficult job. I know that it is going to be an emotional job. I'm prepared to do that. I've done it for 25 years. I think the community deserves a candidate and a person doing this job that has that balance of experience and not a person who's only ever prosecuted. I believe the community deserves that.
So, Mr. Dean, the question was, how will you handle high-volume caseloads to ensure each case receives proper attention?
I appreciate that question. I have done both defense work and I've done prosecution work. I haven't done defense work that long. It was for about a year. I didn't have a very high caseload, so I can put more attention to those cases. But as a defense attorney, I learned that I was a really poor defense attorney. Know what you're good at, know what you're not. And I was not good at defense. I just didn't know how to do it. I'm glad that I found prosecution. So as a prosecutor, my caseload went up 10, 20-fold. And it is a triage system. You have to work your tail off, and you have to make sure that you're doing it with integrity, because the last thing I want to do is have somebody accused of a crime or convicted that is actually innocent. So this experiment actually played out of moving cases quickly in the COVID backlog. Some courts around the state stayed open the entire time through COVID. Some shut down partially, and some shut down completely. Washington County Criminal Court during COVID shut down completely for a period of 15 months, and we were already falling behind. Now, continuances, and there's a little bit of a misconception here, continuances are a defense's best friend. They want to delay. They don't want the case to come to trial because witnesses disappear. Sometimes you have issues with evidence. So 95% of continuances come from the defense. And then there's a majority that come from crime lab continuances, stuff out of the control of either side. There's mental health continuances, and I don't complain about the defense continuances because they're entitled to defend their case. They're accused of very high-level crimes, and they need time to defend it. When we file the case, we're prepared to go to trial. But that's where the defenses come from. We just need to remain vigilant about not allowing needless continuances. We don't allow continuance so a defense attorney can go to a rock concert or go turkey hunting. We allow continuances for people that have valid reasons for that continuance. Last year, Washington County alone was the fastest moving criminal court in the state of Arkansas. And that's with Pulaski County and their giant population down there. We closed 4,900 cases. Think about that. You can't trial those even if you wanted to. But we closed 4,900 cases through trial or plea, making it the fastest moving court in Washington County. And we're not done. My prosecutors are hardworking. Most of them have families. A lot of them have small children. I think 4 of them right now are pregnant. They will work till 8 or 9 o'clock at night without complaint, and they will do it with a smile on their face, knowing they're making a difference in this community. That's what we're going to keep up if I'm elected prosecutor.
And I apologize, I've now gotten out of place. I got sidetracked, and so So we did wrap up that, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I was just about to lose my mind. Okay, this is a good one. So again, Mr. Dean, we'll start with you, and this is kind of a combo that we probably should have started with. These were excellent questions from the audience. And let's do a twofold. How would you state what the mission of the prosecutor's office is? And then how do you measure success? What does a successful term as an elected prosecutor look to you?
Well, I've never been a doctor, but my philosophy is the mission of the office is essentially what a doctor's mission is. It's do no harm. Do no harm. And protect the community. That's what we're here for. At the end of the day, we do justice. And justice isn't always pretty. Justice doesn't always make you feel good. Justice is sometimes ugly. But that's what I stand for. I stand for justice. And I don't mind getting my feet dirty in the pursuit of justice. Success, I tell you, running for prosecutor has been a little weird for me because people view my success as those 8 life sentences or as these trials that I've won or a difficult case that I've succeeded on. And it's so, I mean, I go back to trying those cases and having a 7-year-old girl on the stand talking about rape at the hands of her father, something she didn't even understand. And there's no happy moment at the end of that. And I tell the families that every time I meet with them. We're not gonna feel good when this is over. We might feel satisfied, you're gonna be on the road to recovery, and that's good, but there's just no Law and Order moment where everybody's at a bar afterwards smiling and laughing. That's not this job. Success is measured in how the community feels about their safety, what your perception is. This is a community where I can put one of those horrific child sex abuse cases in front of you, and as a jury, you are going to sit down, listen to the facts, and make a just and intelligent decision. And if that decision is that this individual raped this child over a period of years, you are going to hold them fully accountable. That's success in my mind when this community cares. However this election turns out, I will cease being a prosecutor when my community starts caring, and I don't think that's going to happen in Northwest Arkansas anytime soon.
So again, Ms. Parks, the question was twofold. How would you state what the mission of the prosecutor's office is? And then how do you measure success? What would a successful term as an elected prosecutor look like to you?
I think the mission, first of all, has to be, first and foremost, to keep the community safe. I know there are those really hard cases. You know, we deal a lot, people don't hear a lot about these cases that are in child welfare court. And just like the criminal system, you know, the majority of them are probably people dealing with addiction or substance abuse, but there are some in the child welfare system that they're really bad. So I too have had to work with child victims, prepare them for court, take them to court, stand beside them as they tell their stories. And so I've seen what the harm has been caused, how, you know, families are separated, how kids are victims of violent crime and sex abuse. So I think ultimately we have to keep the community safe, and we have to be willing to do what it takes to pursue those cases to trial and protect the entire community. I think success, though, can be measured by simply just justice. I think doing justice at the prosecutor's office. And people think of that as punishment, but they're not the same thing. Even under the rules of professional conduct, prosecutors are ministers of justice. And so that means something. It should mean something to the prosecutor's office. I would take that very seriously as the prosecutor, that it doesn't always mean putting someone in jail, sending someone to prison. It means prioritizing those things and figuring out what needs to be done based on the harm that's been caused and based on what we can do to maybe remedy those circumstances so that this person doesn't offend again. If they're violent and they're causing harm to children and people in the community, they need to be held accountable. Anybody who breaks the law needs to be held accountable. We just have to figure out the ways to do that and administer justice, however that looks.
It's kind of a combo of one of the questions I had thought of, and then also came out in the questions from the audience, so thanks for that. Y'all have talked a little bit about pretrial or incarceration, but this is maybe a chance to expand some. So again, Ms. Parks, what specific steps would you take to safely reduce the rate of pretrial incarceration? And kind of along with that, would you support pretrial services in Washington County if approved by the quorum court?
Well, I think, yes, I would support pretrial services. I know it seems to be maybe an issue of controversy. I don't really know why. I mean, the best practices show that pretrial services work for people, that if we can get them in our attention quickly and start providing services for them, address those mental health issues, and we can do it quickly, then we can really, really provide those tools that people need to not just short-term, but long-term turn their lives around. I think I touched on this some already, but like I said, I worked as the public defender in drug court and veterans treatment court. I'm going to tell y'all that is probably one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever had, even after years of, going to trial and having jury trials and representing people, some of them charged with very serious offenses. Those last few years as a public defender, when I got to see that change for people, when I got to see that, it changed to I am forever. And so and especially as a prosecutor, I think we can help participate in those celebrations as well. Still, to this day, I have folks come out from their place of employment, behind the counter at McDonald's. A lady came out at Jersey Mike's the other day, came up to my car window and said, I just wanted you to know I'm doing good. You represented me. Thank you. You helped turn my life around. So those things work. They really work. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's not something I'm just saying, let's do these things. So 100% supportive of drug court, veterans treatment court, mental health court, any specialty court that can specifically address the problem and try to avoid incarceration. So I can't remember the rest of the question.
Well, I mean, the rest was just, would you support it if the quorum court did? So I think you
Yes.
started off with that, so
Yes.
yep. And just if there were any other specific steps you'd take to try and reduce pretrial in a safe manner.
I think we have to do it quickly, early and quickly.
So, Mr. Dean, same question. What specific steps would you take to safely reduce the rate of pretrial incarceration? And would you support pretrial services in Washington County if approved by quorum court?
Okay, I'll take the second part of that first. I support the idea of pretrial services. I do not support pretrial services as they occur in Washington County right now. For one simple fact, it's unconstitutional. It only helps men, and that's not right. And I told the judge that, Brandon Carter and I both told the judge that last year. When he came up with this idea, we said, we will support this program if you apply it to men and women. That hasn't been done yet, so I cannot get behind an unconstitutional issue. But the idea of pretrial services, fantastic. Open it to women, I'm gonna be your biggest supporter. As far as steps to safely reduce the rate of incarceration, we've been doing some of these, we just need to do them better. We need to evaluate each case as it comes in. Is this appropriate for a diversion? Because a true diversion, again, could even happen before the stigma of an arrest occurs. And that has happened in certain cases. We had a lady on Dixon Street last year who was in mental health crisis. She entered the open door of a home off of Dixon Street, piled up furniture, and started a campfire. That lady was in mental health crisis, but she committed a residential burglary and an arson. When I got called by the Fayetteville Police Department, I said, do not arrest her, do not take her to jail, take her to Northwest Medical Center. That woman is one of the biggest success stories in our mental health court program. You don't know her name, she's never been arrested, and she will not have a felony. She actually got the help that she needed. So we need to explore ways to get an offender out early. Sarah Moore's back there, she has called me before. We don't always agree on everything, we will never agree on anything, but my phone is always going to answer when I see Sarah Moore or anybody in the community. And she will say, Dennis, we've got this situation, this person's gonna lose their housing if they don't get out, these are their charges. I check it, I make sure that the person is appropriate, that they don't have some horrific crime that's lingering out there, they don't have a history of failing to appear for court, and then I call the judge who has to authorize the citation, and I get a citation for that individual, and they don't spend another night in jail. Now, that doesn't get to happen with everybody. There are people that because they have a history of failing to appear, they have violent charges, there's a victim involved, they don't get to get a citation. But I am always open to suggestions on how to ensure that people don't have their lives completely turned upside down for a minor felony charge. Thank you.
Again, I think excellent discussion this evening. Appreciate so many folks offering questions. I'm afraid we're time constrained. That's the hard thing. We could go, I think, for quite a while. But we need to switch gears because we have some county judge candidates coming up too. So we'll just wrap. And I think, Dennis, you're first on this one. Just your kind of final thoughts. Why do you think you are best qualified for this position?
I'm best qualified because as somebody who has been in this office for so long, and for a period of time I was also a federal prosecutor, and so I got to see a lot of things that didn't work in that system. In federal prosecution, I didn't feel like I was making a difference for my community. There's a grid system when it comes to punishment, and you basically go to the crime, go to the criminal history, and there's the time that person's to serve. I did not like that system. I did not like the politics of it, and that's why I left to come back to work for the Washington-Madison County Prosecutor's Office. We can make a real difference here. The prosecuting attorney is the lead law enforcement agent in a given jurisdiction. It's enormous responsibility. They have the primary responsibility of your public safety, and it is not something to be taken lightly. It is not something to be experimented with. I have the proven track record of taking difficult cases to trial and winning, having those cases upheld by the Arkansas Court of Appeals and the Arkansas Supreme Court. I'm supported not only by multiple law enforcement agencies and police chiefs, but also a lot of prominent defense attorneys that have seen me in court. We might fight like tigers, but they appreciate my ability, they appreciate my fairness, they appreciate my honesty, and they know that I'm the best person suited to protect their family. Vote Dennis Dean, March 3rd. Thank you very much.
Again, Ms. Parks, just to summarize and wrap up, drive your points home. Why do you feel you are the best qualified for this position?
I feel like I'm the best qualified for this position. First of all, I'm just going to say I absolutely do not take this position lightly, nor do I think of it as an experiment. I am the only candidate in this race that has 25 years of courtroom balanced experience. I have seen the courtroom from both sides. I have been a defense attorney for 17 years, and then now I have worked at the Department of Human Services for almost 8 years. I have, in that role, worked to hold people accountable for their actions, things that they've done to harm children. I have worked every day to make sure they don't harm them again. That is what I've done for 8 years, and I have that 25 years of balanced courtroom experience. I've tried every kind of case, from the lowest misdemeanor to capital murder cases. So I know that that experience will be valuable to the prosecutor's office. And again, I'm the only one that has this balanced experience. I think it's critical for this role. My campaign is about balance. It's about being tough on people who harm other people, particularly children and women. It is about being fair to those people who are truly ready to turn their lives around, who only need the tools, only need the chance. It's about being fair to them. So I believe that together, if I'm selected for this position, I think that we can make Washington and Madison County safer and stronger and fairer for everyone in our community. So, thank you so much.
Again, we can't thank you all both enough for spending this time with us. People are very engaged and interested. Really appreciate you sharing your experience and also just kind of your approach and your vision to the office if you're elected as prosecuting attorney. Good luck to you both. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we'll stretch probably in place. It's going to be tough to find a spot again or it might get snatched, but 5 minutes to make a transition. I would imagine out in the
And paging Dr. Glenda Patterson. Please report to your seat.
She's coming.
Thank you, everybody. If you could please find your seat so we can keep mostly with our schedule this evening. Before we get started with our second set of candidates, I'd just like to let you all know that the Fayetteville Public Library is live streaming this event this evening as well as tomorrow on their Facebook page as well as their YouTube channel, and then they will live there. So if you want to rewatch anything, you had any questions or couldn't hear something, feel free to head over to the Fayetteville Public Library's YouTube channel and you can follow up with that. In case you didn't know, I forgot to introduce myself at the beginning. I'm Michelle Walchuk, and I currently serve as the League's local Washington County president. And so we welcome you here again to hear from the candidates. It's a special little departure from our nonpartisan race in that we have a contested primary for our Washington County judge. And I'm sure most of you here know this evening that county judge is not judge in the way that we think of a judicial judge race. I liken it to, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but I kind of think of our county judge in the way you might think of a mayor of a city. The county judge acts in a way of the mayor of the county. Am I wrong in that? Maybe your answer. And that we have justice of the peace that make up our quorum court. So our county judge is in charge of our quorum court, which hosts the justice of the peace, and they pretty much serve like city council members for our county. And it's and they handle over a $100 million budget. That's off the top of my head, so I might have that number totally wrong. Over $130 million budget. So I'll turn it over to Katie Teague. Again, if you have any questions, we'll start passing out those cards a little bit earlier. And so if you've got any questions from the audience, we'll go ahead and vet some of those. Look for those cards. Thank you. Katie?
Thanks, Michelle. And so again, we're switching gears. Appreciate both Mark Scalise and Tim Shepard being with us. They are two of our three Republican candidates that'll be facing off in the March 3rd primary. So same process. We'll welcome you and ask you to give a 2-minute kind of introduction, share anything you'd like with us. Your timekeeper is down here. We so appreciate Glenda. And then we'll start with questions. We'll trade off who answers first, so nobody's in the hot seat all the time. And those will be 3-minute responses, and she'll keep your time. Appreciate you. Mr. Scalise, you want to get us started and just introduce yourself? Thank you.
Is this working? Can you hear me?
You might put it a smidge closer. I think it is working, but you may have to set it
Thank
on.
you, Katie. Thank the League of Women Voters for organizing this event and inviting Tim and I here. My name is Mark Scalise. I am originally from Erie, Pennsylvania, but I did move to Northwest Arkansas 36 years ago to attend law school at the University of Arkansas. I met my wife at that time. We've been happily married for 34 years. We raised 3 children here in Northwest Arkansas. And over the course of my professional career, I did work for 5 years before coming back and going to law school. Undergrad was a mechanical engineering degree. I've lived in 8 states, and I have witnessed the both the positive and negative impact that elected officials can have on citizens and the communities in which they live and govern, I guess. I'm running for county judge because my 3 children are now up and out of the house. And 5 years ago, my youngest, he's gone to the Naval Academy. We have an empty home, and I'm looking at it and going, what have I done for the greater good? I did a great job with the kids. Now what about the greater good? Decided to run for office for that reason, so that I can meet my maker someday and have done more than just for myself. The county judge is a business role. It's a business role with a lot of engineering, with the infrastructure and things, and a lot of legal with all the problems that people run into in the, being sued or getting sued, suing people. So I am uniquely qualified in that I have 30 years of corporate business experience, Fortune 500 companies. I am an engineer and I am an attorney. I'm the only one running that has those 3 qualifications. So anyway, I want to put my experience, education and skill set to behalf on the people of Washington County in this position. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shepherd.
Tim Shepard. I'm a lifelong resident of Washington County. My family's been here 4 generations. I grew up on a farm out by Devil's Den. I went to John Brown University where I got a degree in organizational management and then a graduate degree from the College of Engineering at University of Arkansas. I've worked in public safety for 20 years. I'm currently a captain at the Fayetteville Police Department where I am over administrative services, which is internal affairs, which is a little litigation response as well, training and recruiting, policy and accreditation. It's kind of the stuff that keeps the wheels going, all administrative. I've also worked on innovative projects such as the crisis response team, which in Fayetteville blends social workers into the police response. We did that with the help of the University of Arkansas. I see some of the professors I worked here with on that project, which has been a great project keeping people out of the criminal justice system. I'm very passionate about that. I don't have time to go into why I'm passionate with 2 minutes, but it goes into kind of my upbringing and issues I had as a young man. The reason I'm running for this role is I see an organization in complete crisis, and I think they need accountability, transparency, and partisan politics need to be removed immediately. We need to stop political people that want to boost a political career from coming into Washington County, and that's it. Thank you.
Appreciate you both. So we'll start, I guess. Mr. Shepherd, what do you see as the biggest priorities in Washington County? And so with that, what are the biggest challenges or hurdles to addressing those two?
So originally I would have said infrastructure and zoning, but right now I believe it's relationships and decorum among elected officials and other organizations. What I'm seeing right now is completely unacceptable. If you would have told me in 2023 that I would be going to Beth Koger's newsletter for information and also being a staunch defender of her, I would have been surprised. Not that I have any issue with Ms. Koger. I'm just very appalled at what I'm seeing, and I think it's divisive and it's grinding all of our operations to a halt. And even now, if they have a good idea, if the county judge has a good idea, it's going to stall out because there's so much hostility and distrust for the role, and it's completely unacceptable.
So, Mr. Scalise, the question was, what are the biggest priorities in Washington County, and what do you think are the biggest challenges or hurdles to addressing those?
Yes, it's no mistake, or you probably know, I ran for this position 4 years ago, and I normally, any position I've run for district judge too, always an open position. I would normally not run for a position that with an incumbent, I never would, except in this particular instance because of the things that I see and agree with Tim about. I could not watch what was happening and let it go unchallenged. To be effective, a county judge has to be willing to reach across the aisle. You have to be willing to work with people that you may not agree with, but you have to come together and find common ground to get things done. And that's what I've done in my professional. In corporate America, you don't have the choice to work or not work with anybody that you're in an assignment with. You gotta find a common ground. You gotta get things done. You gotta work with people, whether you agree with them or not. And I don't see that happening. There's a lot of silosis going on. There's a lot of provincial, territorial nonsense going on. There's a culture of fear right now. I've talked to people. The morale is generally on the floor everywhere, and things aren't getting done. People are if you've ever dealt with in your lives a situation where you are paralyzed by fear because you're dealing with someone and you know you can't do anything right, you end up doing nothing or nothing good, and what would normally be a strength turns into a weakness. So we need to get rid of the culture of fear in this county and bring back collegiality and a more of a fun, happy working atmosphere. Start moving this place forward. Thank you.
Super. So we'll switch gears. Mr. Scalise, you're up first. And it was brought up just briefly, infrastructure, so let's dive into that a little bit. What do you feel are the most pressing infrastructure or capital improvement needs in the county?
Well, you know, in a county the size of Washington County, they never end, right? It's a matter of traffic counts, data, looking at what's going on, where's the growth coming from. There's 1,100 miles of county roads in Washington County, and 300 miles of it are still unpaved. All right, that's equivalent of from here to Dallas, Texas, unpaved roads. Kind of amazing, isn't it? Now, that doesn't mean they all need to be paved necessarily, but there's a lot of growth coming, and a lot of these backwards roads are gonna all of a sudden start filling up with people that are gonna expect to have better roads. And so you really need to step back. I'm not the type that's gonna come in and just start being a bull in the china shop, not knowing what I know. I'm gonna take stock, see what's going on, look, listen, try to learn, figure out who's right, who's wrong, what's good, what's going good, what's not going good, and then react and move forward accordingly. You know, I know that a big brag is that they did 200 miles of road last year, and you know how great that is. And I talked to people and they said it was done in a rush and it's all falling apart. I mean, it's just a joke. The quality, they did the quantity, but the quality's not there. It's almost a waste of time because you know, someone once said there's never enough time to do it right the first time, but there's always enough time to do it again. And that's exactly what that 200-mile road is. We're gonna do it all again. So anyway, it's just a matter of common sense and proper utilization of both people and equipment and prioritization based on data and also doing best practices, looking around, looking at Benton County, looking at other counties, looking at other areas of the country, you know, who's doing it right. I'm a big believer in learning from other people's mistakes. Go find out who's doing it right, how are they doing it, why are they doing it, why is it working, and copy it.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mr. Shepherd. So again, what is the most pressing infrastructure or capital improvement project needs?
It's definitely roads. If you look at county road departments, historically, they've been political capital machines. They're not transparent. You don't know where the roads are going, but they sure seem to pop up where donations are, and that has to stop. There's no transparency on that. What has really happened with these 200 miles is it's all optical illusion. I believe most of them won't be viable within the next 18 months. From what I'm hearing, talking to people, and once again, I'm a cop, so I don't pretend to be an expert on roads, but I am talking to people that work in the road department and Benton County Road Department as well. When they say 200 miles, that's ridiculous. They can do about 25 to 30 with a road department like this. Furthermore, there's no planning. They don't know what they're working on from week to week, so they can't scale up or down to be prepared for a project. Recently, I exposed that they were using restricted road funds to do the base material and the asphalt for the emergency management system, or emergency management building down on the south campus. So that road money that's dedicated by state law was being used for other projects that's not allowed. And one thing I found very concerning as somebody who is really into analytics is they couldn't even tell me how many loads of base material they brought there from the quarry, which tells you far more than just the fact they don't know how many loads. They don't even know how many loads they're bringing in and if it's viable versus going to the private sector. So if you're not even tracking the loads, you don't know if you're doing anything right. That's a huge systemic problem, and I find it very alarming. So we need to be transparent about what we're doing. There needs to be public dashboards. People need to know the maintenance cycle. Another thing with this 200 miles that really threw things off is now the maintenance is far behind. So now your dirt roads, your culverts, they're all behind. It's a major problem. It'll be a big issue when we walk in there, and it's going to take a slowdown to get it running right.
Again, I appreciate you both. So Mr. Shepherd, we've talked about growth and the challenges that come with that, and you've both already addressed that for several things, but what is your approach to balancing growth and economic development with that preservation or protection of rural ag lands?
So first, you have to listen to the public. You can't have conditional use permit meetings on the Monday before Christmas. You can't do anything back channel. You can't pick winners and losers. You can't pave the roads for certain cup applicants that you're not doing for others, and this is fact. You can go look. Furthermore, there needs to be town halls. We need to look at potentially possibly doing different areas, get different zoning requirements, because this is a very diverse county. People want totally different things. When you go out to the east side, they are very concerned about their quality of life in the Goshen and Elkins area. They have purposely created certain types of zoning, and now with the cities losing their territorial expansion zone, I believe outside capital is going to target right outside of these cities, and they're going to attack it. And I don't blame the developer for that at all. They're trying to make money, but it's a lot more than just property rights, because I'm a property rights person. I grew up in rural Washington County. I think you should be able to do what you want with your land, but it's a lot different when you have developers from Miami who are going to pour millions of dollars into it, and they're incentivized now to select right outside the city borders, and we're going to have a major problem if we don't address that. I don't know if we do it with MOUs between the cities that allow them to have some control of the planning. We're going to have to do something, but what is clear is you can't push it all through in a 156-page document without even showing what's changed, calling it the Freedom and Preservation Zoning Act, while you're actually losing some of your freedom and zoning. So I do think there needs to be something done. I have some personal ideas on it, but at the same time, our ideas as leadership have to come from the people, and this is a hot button issue, and it's going to take a lot of work. I see it probably being one of the most contentious things in the first year that we have to do, but we're going to have to do something. There's a lot of forces coming towards us with the IDAs, the industrial districts. I hope that they do not grant the county judge authority to do those without going through the quorum court. Every one of those should go through the quorum court. You should have representation on it. I'm very concerned about rural Washington County, so I do hope we address that.
Appreciate that. So
Do you
Mr. Scalise,
read-
yeah. I will reread, yep. So the question was, what is your approach to balancing growth and economic development with the preservation of rural agricultural land across the county?
That's going to be an interesting challenge for sure. As I sit here today, we were at about 270,000 people, and we're going to be over 500,000 people in 20 years in Washington County, and they all aren't going to go into Springdale and Fayetteville or Farmington. So they are going to go into the county, and the zoning is a big issue, or has been a big issue. I understand that. I don't even know where that initiative came from originally. I think it was from the county judge, but start off with what I think a 4-page document. It turned into a 150-page document that actually no one still really, to Tim's point, knows what it says. My thoughts on it is that to streamline things, you would look at the high traffic roads that are currently in place and being used. You could automatically say, down those venues, down those high traffic roads that are out in the county, you could change the zoning on those and kind of make them quicker and easier to develop, because they're going to get developed one way or another. And to make people go through conditional use permit, jumping hoops and doing all that nonsense for especially high volume roadways, I think is just a waste of time and effort. Now, certainly you've got to balance the interests of the rural population with the developers. I think that in the cases of when you're getting fairly rural, still the conditional use permit process works. It's slow, but it works. You've got the quorum court there that is on hand to protect the interests of both their constituents as well as the people trying to get things done out there. So it's a nice check and balance, which is what our forefathers were all about, check and balance. But there is going to have to be, as we move along, there is going to need to be some modifications, some changes in the way we do things. What that looks like right now, I don't know, but I am a common sense guy. Common sense solves a lot of problems. Somebody once said common sense is so rare these days it should be classified as a superpower. Okay, so use some common sense with what's going on, and honesty, integrity, and move forward again with transparency.
Appreciate you. So this is a follow-up and kind of related, and then we have several good questions from the audience as well. But again, kind of related to growth and also related to Act 314 that took effect in 2025 that removed that authority of municipalities to kind of manage that unincorporated outside their areas, outside city limits, and put that back onto the county. So what's your approach to county planning areas in terms of working with cities?
Well, I'm definitely, as far as working with cities goes, one of the first things I would do, if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, would be to reach out to every single mayor, every single department head, police chief, fire, whatever is out there, even the school boards, administrators, find out what's going on from their perspective. What do they think needs to happen? What don't they think need to happen? Get people's opinion on things. And as far as moving forward, again, it's common sense. I mean, there's no specific formula for doing it right or doing it wrong. You have to do it with information, and you have to try to balance the interests of all the stakeholders that are dealing with the issue at hand. Best foot forward. That's all I can say is make informed decisions with data and with other people's input.
Again, Mr. Shepherd, the authority of municipalities to exercise extraterritorial zoning jurisdiction, was shifted, and now it's transferred to the counties. What is your approach to county planning areas in terms of working with cities?
Obviously, we need to speak with them, but we also need to enter into potentially MOUs where they can guide us, and we need to petition with the state legislators to possibly fix this law issue, because I think it's going to be a major problem. Furthermore, it speeds up the fact that we have to address this zoning issue, and it has to be a priority. I foresee this being an issue where we're doing town halls monthly across the county, trying to figure out how to get consensus on how to address this. In the meantime, though, we need to make these developers be extremely transparent with the public when they're going to do a project. There needs to be ample time for the public to be aware of what's going on, to have input. There doesn't need to be any surprises. We need to notify everybody. That way we can get that feedback. Another thing we need to do is probably expand the planning board and include more engineers and architects instead of just bankers and realtors. So that as these things are coming through, we can have a different set of eyes on it and what it's actually going to do to our community. Because some of these projects are very concerning. I was looking at one that I was invited out to a house over in Goshen, and they were going to strip off about 10 foot of a hill right next to a watershed and put in, I think it was like 118 septic units in 122 acres. It didn't go through. But, I think as the county judge, how we can handle some of that in the meantime while we're working through the zoning issue is with our process and our awareness to the public and being very clear and transparent instead of it looking kind of like we're just trying to push it through so people don't even know about it. So that's how we can kind of get something done in the meantime to keep the public not fearful about what's coming, because it is a real problem.
You bet. Appreciate you. Again, Mr. Shepherd, you get the first round this time. Both of you had identified the priorities of building relationships and improving decorum, and so you were asked, how exactly do you plan to address that? So get down into the specifics of how you see that unfolding.
Yep. So first, we just as simple as the website, we need to be more transparent. I have become a religious subscriber to Beth Koger's newsletter. I would love to see that move more to an online so everybody can see it. Because without her, I don't know if anybody's seen my Facebook. I've been exposing stuff in sequence, dysfunctions of Washington County, and linking it with Google Drives to FOI documents, which includes CPA certification spending by the current county judge was not a requirement, $722 of stakes for their department head meetings, et cetera. This stuff needs to be public, and people should not have to FOI and worry about the FOI being fulfilled. Because once you lose trust on one of those things, it's over. Even if it's just gone. We're getting a police department where we get FOI'd hundreds of times a week. I can't even understand why this is such a problem. You shouldn't be threatening vendors and contracts of other people if they don't align with you politically. All those little elements decay trust. And you should not silence people just because of a different ideology or political opinion. You know, once again, working as a police officer, we're trained to defend people's right to freedom of speech and expression, no matter if you agree with it or not. I have personal opinions, but they don't apply to the job and the area of responsibility of the county judge. And so I think it's really important to defend everybody's right to freedom of speech and different opinions. So I think it's just decorum among the quorum court as the county judge, making sure everybody has equal opportunity to speak, to be heard, to request information. I also think that the county judge controls a lot of information flow to the Justice of the Peace, which is your legislative branch, on how they do the agenda. You can't be putting out the agenda items and making changes the day of or 3 days before. They need to have ample time, and they need to have all the information. Some of these agendas are very scant, and they do not provide all of the information to the Justice of the Peace, and that is your legislative branch. They deserve to know everything that's going on. Also, the public gets to view that. So I think all of those steps, along with creating public dashboards and trying to move everything online so that you don't even feel like you have to go FOI, but you still can, obviously, but just having that access. And also, as the county judge, I have to be out in the community. I see this as a job that you're working 50-plus hours a week, and you're going to meet people, you're talking to people, you're easily accessible. You actually fill your administrative assistant position so that people can actually get a hold of you, which is a thing that's not happening right now. So you have access to people, and they have access to you. So that's how you do it.
Appreciate that. So again, Mr. Scalise, we just had been talking earlier about the importance of relationship building and decorum, and so the ask was, how exactly do you plan to address decorum?
So, in person, you got to get out there and you got to meet people. It's really all it comes down to from the standpoint of addressing relationships and decorum and treating people as you'd want to be treated. And having respect for people, respecting their time, respecting their opinions, not belittling them, not being snotty, but really just getting out. You know, the last place that you would find me in this position is going to be sitting on the 5th floor. I would be out meeting people, meeting with the different mayors, meeting with people, going down roads, talking to people, going to functions, talking to people, and just listening. You know, 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen to people and see what are their concerns, and build relationships all throughout. I had a mentor back at Ingersoll Rand, and all he said was, build relationships, build relationships, build relationships, and everything else will come. People want to do business, and people want to support, and people want to work for, and people want to champion the causes of people they like and people they have a relationship with. And you don't do that sitting in the office. So at the end of the day, it's kind of an easy answer, and it's pretty basic, but doing it is another thing, so.
Okay, so Mr. Scalise, this is gonna be kind of a two-parter, and we can take it one at a time if that helps, because that's kind of tough to keep it all in your mind. But it's really talking about budget, and what is your strategy for maintaining essential services for the county? Things like roads, courts, jail, without overspending. And then the follow-up is, what measures would you implement to gain better return of investment for taxpayers? Not an easy question.
Well, honestly, I'll go back to my original point was that I don't walk in thinking I know everything and just starting to swing an axe and just making changes to make changes. It's not my style. I don't know what I don't know. I sit here and, it's a big animal. It's a very multi-tentacled animal. Not knowing what I don't know what to, I won't sit here and try to snow you with an answer like, this is what I'm going to do. But I do know that my wife can attest to the fact that we are very fiscally responsible people. We always have been. We always will be. I bring the same fiscal responsibility mindset to the position. You know, I've had an expense account my whole life, and it's always been My father, Abe, came home. He was a personnel manager for American Sterilizer, and he would come home and he'd say, I had to fire someone else again today because cheating on their expense account. Man, I heard that enough that I had never cheated on my expense account in 30-plus years. Man, that was one thing I just didn't do. And what the budget of the county is, it's my expense account, and I don't cheat on it. I'll do the right thing with the money. I will not cheat on the budget or the expense account. The second part was,
Second part was, what measures would you implement to gain better return on investment for taxpayers? It's a tough question.
well, it would be, I'd have to understand really what's in place, what's out there, best practices. Again, I'm big on best practices. I'm big on learning from other people's mistakes. I mentioned that. There's no reason to go through and make a bunch of mistakes that someone's already done for you that you can learn from. So go out, talk to people, talk to the experts, talk to other counties, see what they're doing, gather data, copy what works, and use what works, throw away what doesn't, and move forward. Don't act like you have all the answers, because I know I don't. But I know there's somebody out there that does, and I just need to find them and learn from them.
Thank you. It's a tough one. So again, Mr. Shepherd, the question was, what is your strategy for maintaining essential services, including road, courts, and jail, without overspending? And that second piece was, what measures would you implement to gain better return on investment for taxpayers?
So they're definitely both related. What I would do immediately is get my command staff together, who I'm bringing in for my administration. They're going to be highly skilled people, and we're going to audit every department, top to bottom, make sure we have an idea of where our assets are, make sure we're tracking. Like when I talked about the fact that they didn't even know how many loads of base material went to a construction site from the quarry, that's unacceptable, so that is a real problem. So we're going to go through every department, and that could be anything from, do we have enough pretrial services to prevent people from waiting in jail and tying up beds that don't even need to be there? Are we investing correctly in mental health, returning home, the CRI? Are we doing all that stuff? Is there other ways we can scale with software and technology that will reduce costs? There's many ways we can scale with partnerships with cities and other organizations, such as every Fayetteville, Springdale, Central EMS, Washington County, they all have a dispatch center. Do we all need a dispatch center? Should we have one? And those would take a lot of work to pull those pieces together, but there's a significant cost-saving potential there as well. So we would go through. I'm also going to bring in somebody to be an inspector general type role that's going to audit and look at asset skimming, vendor kickbacks, make sure that we're doing everything right and that nobody is skimming, or that we have also proper policy and procedure for organizational control in the organization. You know, I come from a background that's all law, procedure, and policy, and this idea of just coming in and just kind of looking at stuff is not going to be good enough. We're going to dissect every department and make sure we're doing everything properly. We have proper controls in place, and also I think that gives an environment for the right people in the team and the staff to be supported and know that what they're doing is right, proper, and discipline is consistent. Standards are consistent, and that will help people become more efficient, productive in their work. They don't have to worry and look over their head and not know what the standard is for expectations, what our priorities are. So we're going to go through and work through every department, set our standards. We're going to look at see where we can scale, where we can reduce costs, and it's never going to stop, ever. So that's what we'll do.
So Tim, this is fairly short, but maybe you can expand a little bit. In the past, the county has had an environmental affairs department, and the question is, would you bring that back?
Yes, I would. So that actually is part of why I got into this. So I live in the county, and I emailed the county judge about a major problem near me, and he did not respond for 8 weeks until a day before I was about to run. Somehow I got an email about it, and that is all documented through email. I was totally ignored on that, and I found out later, talking to Boston Mountain, that was cut. And I heard a little bit of why, and I don't have the proof of that, so I don't bring a lot of stuff without receipts. But yes, I do think it's a major problem, and it was a two-person department, and it was very valuable. And there's no remedy for it because this other organization, Boston Mountain, cannot use county ordinance to enforce anything. So they're extremely limited on what they can do. So yes, I would.
Appreciate that. So again, we had a Environmental Affairs Department in Washington County. Will you bring it back?
Well, I'm very big on the environment. I don't know why it was disbanded. I would have to go in and find out why. What was the reasoning for disbanding it? Certainly, if it wasn't a good reason, yes, I would bring it back.
Fair enough. Okay. So, Mr. Scalise, you're up again. If elected, would you advocate for any changes to existing taxes that could be increases or decreases?
Well, I don't like to pay taxes. I know no one in here likes to pay taxes, but unfortunately, the county judge does not determine the taxes, the voters do. So you're the one that decides whether there's more or less taxes, not the county judge. It's kind of a trick question, isn't it? Do I want lower taxes? Yes. As a person, would I want more revenue available to operate, pave more roads, build more bridges, finance better infrastructure projects? Yes, I would like more money to do that. Where's it gonna come from? I don't know. It's not me, though, that's gonna advocate for larger taxes to do it. I'll work with what I've got, but county judge doesn't determine a tax.
So, Mr. Shepherd, again, if elected, would you advocate for any changes to the existing tax structure?
I would love to advocate for it, but it's not possible right now. We're 43 out of 75 counties in Arkansas as far as tax, so we're not a highly taxed county, but we have a lot of issues. Where I would probably advocate is to try to speed up development so that there's not as much of the permit process, et cetera. But it's not going to be feasible, honestly. I want to be the person to say we're going to lower them. I can honestly say I would never be a part of raising them or advocating for that, but it's not feasible at this time. We have major holes. We recently just found out that there was a $750,000 of software purchase that can't even be integrated. That'll be coming out soon. We have major holes in multiple areas. I don't see it happening anytime soon.
So, Mr. Shepherd, your thoughts? This is somebody from the audience. In the previous discussion, we were interviewing or given a forum for the prosecuting attorneys, and many times it came up about pretrial services. And so kind of your thoughts or position on either current pretrial services or what you might do differently and how you'd garner support.
I'd like to bring the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee back and to explore that. I do think we need actually to enhance that. There's a lot of people waiting that are waiting for trial that should be released probably, but they can't get processed. So I definitely support seeing what we can do there. I've read about a bunch of options, and I think we need to look into it and form a committee. It can't just be my idea, but I definitely support pretrial services being expanded.
I do as well. Again, does it make sense? Does it work? I'm all for anything that works. Just blindly throwing peas against the wall and seeing what sticks. I'm not so much a fan for that. But if there are pretrial services that are proven to make a difference, worthwhile, things that we can do, I'm all for it. I'm big all for it. I took a he's very familiar with the jail. I took a tour of the jail, and I was amazed and appalled that anybody would ever commit another crime that's even seen the inside of that jail, because that's nowhere I want to be. I can tell you that. And I know it's nowhere they all don't want to be either. And if it's warranted that services can keep them out of it and maybe keep them from making a mistake again or correcting deviations and getting on the right path, I'm all for it.
You bet. And kind of a follow-up, because that was another question. And so Mr. Shepherd already said he'd reinstate the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee. So that was the question. Will you reinstate the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee and appoint members, including people in the community? So I'm going to have Mr. Scalise, you answer that first.
Again, if Yes, yes, I would. I mean, I assume it makes sense. You know, I sit here and I wonder why are these, if these are good things, why are they gone? And I guess that's why we're running, because a lot of decisions are being made that don't make sense or that are the wrong decision. So, yeah, I'm assuming that it's a good thing and that it wasn't discontinued for a good reason. So, yes, I would bring it back.
And again, Mr. Shepherd, you said yes, you'd reinstate it. How about the other pieces about appointing members, including people in the community?
Absolutely appoint people in the community. You can't just have cops on it. Some of the better ideas I've heard is, I believe it was ARJC talking about notifying people about warrants and court dates, some kind of notification system. I definitely think we should do something like that. I've seen the cycle in law enforcement where people enter the criminal justice system with something minor and it just spirals out of control. So anything we can do to prevent that early prevention for that is essential. And if you're just somebody who looks at it from a dollar value, which I think there's a whole human component there as well, it's very important because even if you're just looking at it from a cents and dollar, if you can prevent that and get them back on their feet before they get to a certain point, and then you're spending a ton of money housing them, which I still think there's a human value element. When I was working on the crisis response team with the University of Arkansas, we saw how those early interventions were very successful. There was people that were calling the police department with mental health crisis, et cetera, 30 times a month, and we were able to reduce it down to one every like 2 or 3 months, that same individual. We call them, in the law enforcement field, we call them high utilizers of services. So we're very technical. I'm sorry if it takes the human side out of it. But there's so much opportunity there for innovation that people don't even look at, and we have a great university right here in our backyard that is willing to help, and I've been kind of discouraged hearing that the Washington County government doesn't collaborate very often with the University of Arkansas, and that's something else I would like to alleviate very quickly.
Appreciate that. And so kind of follow up and a chance to expand a little bit. We'll start with Mr. Shepherd. How will you address public safety concerns countywide and support the sheriff's department?
Yep. So one thing I'm big on, and what we do at Fayetteville Police Department lately, our crime is down, I believe 8% this year. And what we do is evidence-based policing based on analytics and hotspots instead of just random patrols. And you still have to do some random patrols, et cetera, but deploying your resources where there's actually an issue happening. And to do that, you do have to have technology, and I don't believe Washington County currently has some of that. So I would try to help them to get that. I would also work with rural fire departments by potentially transitioning one of the emergency management positions to a grant writer so that they can go get grants. You have volunteer fire departments where the walls are falling in on the side, and that's the lifeblood of those communities, so they need to be supported. I was a volunteer fireman for 7 years at Wheeler Fire Department, and each engine, and I was a horrible fireman, by the way. I almost died like 3 times. Those real firemen were keeping me alive. But you know, they had engines that were from 1970, and then another engine, and they're all different. I mean, there's so much room to enhance that. Also, as far as record management systems or CAD, or where our calls come in, Fayetteville and Springdale are on what's called Tyler technology, and we're getting to where we can kind of communicate with each other. Washington County's on a different interface. But if we could eventually, and over time, get everybody on the same interface so that everybody's on the same system, I think there's a big opportunity there to address public safety concerns, because communication is always very difficult among departments, and we're becoming kind of a metropolis, and we need to be able to communicate.
Thank you. So again, Mr. Scalise, the question was, how will you address public safety concerns across the county and support the sheriff's department?
Well, I am absolutely, I back the blue. Make no mistake about it. I am a big advocate for our police forces and the job they do. I think we're spoiled. Thank you for what you do, Tim. We're spoiled here because I've lived other places, and this is a community people feel safe. They feel so safe that we take for granted the great job that all of our police departments and sheriff's departments doing. And don't do that, because we're growing fast, and it's gotta, you know, when I was a prosecutor here 30 years ago, when I got out as prosecuting attorney, and I right down there in, you know, Washington, Madison County, and there was zero crime, just about none. And now it's night and day. And so don't take the public safety, I support them, in other words. Anything they need within reason to keep the public safe, I'm all for it. The tech, the data, I'm surprised that they don't all talk to each other. That would be priority one. I mean, I do know that they don't, but I'm surprised because I thought that was a big initiative when I ran 4 years ago. That was like on the cusp of happening. And the fact that we're 4 years down the road and it hasn't happened, I think is a travesty. So we would remediate that as fast as possible. And I understand there were some contracts that were entered into that were self-serving, let's say, that were done without common sense again. So I really don't know where I'm going with this from the standpoint of anything other than I would give my full support to law enforcement and the great job they do in this community.
And this has been touched on, but again, a chance to expand a bit. Mr. Scalise, how do you plan to engage with constituents and ensure transparent decision-making? Y'all have touched on that some with relationships and decorum, but if you want to expand, that would be great.
Well, once again, you know, I would take advantage of the position. In other words, you know, if I was to go out there right now and say I wanted to have conversations with community leaders and people of importance in the community, you know, it's kind of hard. But if the county judge, the position, calls these people up, they are going to pay attention. They're going to give you the time of day. And you have to be smart about how you use, that's a power. That's a great power, and it has to be used wisely, it has to be used judiciously, it has to be used for the right reasons. People have to get to understand and trust that you're not going to waste their time, that you're doing it for the right reasons, and being able to use that power to move everything forward and, you know, to start pulling together and to start working together as a community, not just as a county executive, is going to be the recipe for success. It's going to be the recipe for making Washington County a big success story with the kind of growth that we're experiencing, because it can go the other way badly and fast if we don't maintain lines of communication and build on relationships with all the leaders working together and pulling the oar in the right, same direction.
Appreciate that. Again, Mr. Shepherd, the question was, how do you plan to engage with constituents and ensure transparent decision-making?
So I talked earlier about being personally accessible, which is one thing, but we would do rotating town halls. I don't know if we do it every month, every other month, or quarterly, but you would have a set schedule that you could predict. They wouldn't be canceled, and they would rotate around the county so that people would have an opportunity to come see us in person. At least once a year at the minimum, we would do field trips with the JPs with us. We'd get a bus or something, go around and look at different parts of the county to help them understand areas, to help them meet constituents and see problems. But we would do that regularly. We'd also create policy and procedure on professionalism and customer service with the public, as well as a dashboard where people can make complaints against county employees. It's not that I want people to get in trouble, but I do believe customer service is extremely important. That's something we value highly at the Fayetteville Police Department, which has really helped us through some difficult times, is just our outreach with the public. If you look at our community-oriented policing and our social media, we're highly engaged with the public with events, et cetera. And I would bring that to the county government, and you could just see exactly what we've done there, and you'd see it exactly in Washington County government. But also, like I said, being able to hold our employees accountable to make them have good customer service. And I don't think anybody has a problem with that. We just have to set the standard, and that standard starts at the top with me and my leadership team and my department heads, and it filters on down. So that's how I'd address that.
Excellent. We have a really neat question, I feel like came from the audience. It's thoughtful. What are the biggest things you've learned during the campaign process? So Mr. Shepherd, you're first.
Partisan politics are a lot nastier than I thought. That was a big surprise. I was told it gets really busy in January, and it has definitely kicked my butt. So, yeah, it's been a very big surprise. I didn't realize the business outside influence outside of Washington County that's trying to influence Washington County politics and other factors. So that's been a little bit of a surprise. And then I've been really surprised to really get into my FOI requests and see some of the documents I'm seeing, such as email correspondence between the county judge and the justice of the peace. I've been really surprised to see how they use funds, how they address the quorum court with the agenda. Coming from Fayetteville, city of Fayetteville, it's just a lot more transparent on the website and in the agenda and how they communicate with other entities within the city government. So that's been the biggest surprise. I know I listed off several there. It's kind of overwhelming.
And, yep,
So,
I did say the biggest things, it was plural, so,
Sorry.
yep. Yep, that's the question. So again, Mr. Scalise, what are some of the biggest things that you've learned during this campaign process?
I've learned that we live in a fantastic community, as good or better than anywhere else I've ever lived. And as I said, I've lived in 8 states. I've learned that over the course of campaigning, it's fun in that you have a lot of interaction with a lot of people. You get to hear a lot of opinions. A lot of people are excited to talk to you and share information with you. I've also learned that there's a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of subversive, a lot of dirty politics that go on that you never know about till months, maybe years later, and someone will slip and say something that was going on behind your back, and that's disappointing, unfortunately. I've learned that everybody you meet says they voted for you. Like, I mean, it's a windfall.
I told you I voted for Deacons.
Yeah, I know. Even Tim said he's going to vote for him. But I've learned that no matter the outcome, I'm gratified that I at least, when I started this 5 years ago, I said, what did I do for the greater good? Whether I get elected or not, I can at least say, I tried. I gave myself as an option for you, the public, and that's all I can do.
And then I guess just kind of final thoughts. You've said it throughout, but maybe drive home the point. The last 3 minutes you'll each have to kind of summarize your experiences again while you're running for judge.
Well, the role of county judge is too big a job to leave to just anybody. It's both a privilege and a responsibility that needs to be taken very, very seriously. And, Washington County deserves a judge with integrity, honesty, common sense, with a vision for the future, someone who's going to be fiscally responsible and a good steward of taxpayer money. Someone with an open door that's going to listen to what you have to say and, just be responsive and available. Somebody that's, able to operate without drama. I'm so dramaless. I don't like drama. No drama, no room for drama in my life, especially in a position like this. Drama is ridiculous. So, 4 years ago, I won the primary against 3 other candidates. I lost the runoff by 18 votes because only 3% of the people came out, and there was some, misinformation that was spread at the last minute that was inaccurate. Don't make the same, and now I have people coming up going, I'm sorry, we made a mistake, I'm sorry. Well, don't make the same mistake, okay? So let's do it right this time. Together we can make Washington County, make sure it remains safe, prosperous, and a great place to live for us and our future generations. And I would appreciate your vote on March 3rd. And I thank you for your time and for listening to what I had to say this evening. Thank you.
So, Mr. Shepherd, yep, same concluding comments, whatever you
So I believe Washington County is actually at a big crossroads. There's a lot of outside forces and a lot of opportunity, but also a lot of threat. I've been neck deep in this for about 12 months, learning everything I can about it, studying it astutely. I'm not a politician. I've been in public service for 20 years. I have my command team ready to go. We're going to hit the ground running. We're going to implement organizational control. We're going to fix morale. We're going to have clear standards and priorities. We're going to fix relationships. We know how to do it. You can see the model in this same city, right there at the Fayetteville Police Department, which is a high-pressure environment that's been through a lot. We've had officers killed. We've dealt with extreme situations, and we've come through every time better and stronger, and we've been very attentive to the public and the community with what we do. We've been innovative and progressive, and that is my pedigree. That's where my mentorship has been, and I'm going to bring that to Washington County government, and I would really appreciate your support March 3rd. I need it. We need to get the incumbent out. I like Mark Scalise. I wish him the best outside of this election. So he's a great guy. But I have a plan, and I have the energy. This is going to be a hard job that's going to require a lot of work. I think it'll be a very taxing, difficult situation for quite some time, honestly. I'm not somebody to sugarcoat stuff and tell you what you want to hear necessarily. And I'll bring that into the role. I'm not going to be a politician. I'm not performative. I'm not for optics. I do not care about it. I do care about people. This is my community. I'm very rooted here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not trying to launch a political career to go somewhere else. I've already had a great career in law enforcement, and I want to take care of my community. That's what I'm about. And if you ask about me, there's people in this room who know me. They've known me for a long time. They've worked with me on projects, serious projects, and they know how I show up. And I don't think a lot of candidates can actually have those references that I have. And I just, like I said, I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Again, 7:28, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Yeah, sure. I do want to start off to thank you both gentlemen, Mr. Scalise and Mr. Shepard, for your dedication to public service, for choosing to run for office tonight. And I just think it's important to remember that this is one of our partisan races that's going on right now. So we have 3 candidates that are vying for your vote for county judge. 2 of them are here tonight, but all 3 were invited. So I just wanted to make that clear. This is the Republican primary. So the way that the election works here in our primary now is if you wanted to vote for either of these gentlemen or the third who's not in attendance, you need to be a registered Republican and pull the Republican primary ballot for the choice. If you're not currently a registered Republican, our Washington County election office is they will allow you to change your registration the day of so that you can pull that Republican primary if you want. The winner from, our Republican primary will go up against, there is a Democratic candidate, and we hope to see our Republican candidate and our Democratic candidate back here in October-ish at the run-up to our general election in November. So thank you, gentlemen, very much for being here. We really appreciate your time. Yes, sir.
I believe you can be optional in voting Republican. I just want to make that known. I'm
thank
sorry.
you. No, I appreciate that because it is a new rule that is there. So yes, so you can be registered optional, pull the Republican primary. If there was a runoff, you would have if you had only voted as the Republican on March 3rd, could you be vote in the runoff? Right. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. New rules. New rules, yes. I want to appreciate our candidates. I really want to show some appreciation and love for our moderator, Katie Teague. She spends a lot of time. All of these different offices that we are listening for have different types of questions, and so she does a great amount of research, has a great wealth of knowledge about Washington County, and I really appreciate the way she can bring together her research about the different offices and what their roles and responsibilities are with the specific needs of Washington County and bringing those questions together. And thank you also our audience for doing those questions. Yes. We really appreciate that input as well. I'd also like to thank the Fayetteville Public Library and their staff who helped us tonight, this beautiful space and their technological support. We really needed to do that. Thank you for attending and being a part of democracy. You are holding democracy right now in your seats, in your hands, in your heads by being here tonight. We keep talking about the election is March 3rd. Early voting starts February 17th. Make a plan before you head in, but you can vote as early as that. And you can vote right here at our public library. In Washington County, you can vote at any polling place, no matter where you live. Thank you. When talking to friends and families about this election, you can direct them to our website, vote411.org, and get information about our candidates. You can also go on to, if you put into the search engine Voter View Arkansas, you can download your sample ballot, fill it out, print it out before you head on in, make a plan. And as a reminder, recording of this live stream is available to anyone. We'll put links on our social media and, of course, the Fayetteville Public Library's YouTube channel. Now, you're welcome to stay until the library kicks us out of the room. You can mingle and ask the candidates any questions as long as they're here. We've got league members. If you would like to sign our petition, it'll be in the back there. We will be back tomorrow evening for 2 panels of candidates vying for Circuit Judge District 4. That'd be Divisions 2, 3, and 8. 3 and 8 will be juvenile judges. Have a good evening, and thanks again. Thank you, gentlemen.